So just to recap, let's see, what are the best decks in the format? Well, you have Wigglytuff. You also have Haymaker, Stall, and then Rocket Zapdos is probably the best card out at the moment. What if we just shove all of these together and make a giant fuck you deck to Wizards of the Coast and also make the greatest deck in the Prop 15 format? Uh, Adding Wigglytuff with Rocket Zapdos with support from Scyther, Chansey, and Electabuzz gave this deck so many options. You could get it set up super fast. You could run it a million different ways depending on what you were up against. It was so versatile. So let's get into this deck. If you haven't watched my Wigglytuff video, pop on over and do that. We'll be using a similar strategy. And if you're not familiar with the Prop 15 format, I also have a video on that. So let's dig in. So basically what we're running here is a Wigglytuff list, but with a beefed up Pokemon base for the Prop 15 format. Because your trainer list was shortened by so much, what you end up doing is just adding more Pokemon, which can only help this deck because it gives it more options. It lets those Jigglypuffs sit on the bench longer without getting gusted out. And then it also gives you a lot of options on how you can combat your opponent's strategy. So a playset of Jigglypuff and Wigglytuff, also going to be running 3 Rocket Zapdos. It's a great card. Really astounding that this made it into the format. That Plasma attack can deal 20, which can help deal with Mr. Mime. And then the Electro Burn attack, which you're dealing 70 damage. You deal a little bit of damage to yourself, but that can be healed off. You're also utilizing Electabuzz, who is arguably the best basic attacker in the game ever since it came out in base set all the way up through the gym Heroes and Challenge sets. Scyther kind of replaced Switch in this deck, so instead of switching, you can just move into Scyther, and because it has free retreat, just swap right back out to pull something off of your bench into the active spot. And then you have Chansey, who can stall when needed. Mainly, this is going to be used early game or just as a bench sitter. Just in case you do need to stall, say a Jigglypuff gets knocked out and you don't have anything to replace it yet, or your Rocket Zapdos isn't fully loaded up yet and you don't want to risk it getting knocked out. And the trainer base that does exist in this deck is all about draw power. It's getting all of these basics in your hand so you can put them on the bench and start powering them up. So 3 Professor Oaks, 3 Misty's Wrath, which is a card that will eat through your deck super fast, it and Professor Oak. So you do have to be careful that you're not going to deck yourself out. But with this kind of build, you're really going to be setting up super quick. You're going to be winning games. Turn 3 or 4 with this deck. Wigglytuff, fully powered up on turn 2 with a full bench, is going to just decimate whatever your opponent has and set up way quicker than most other things in Prop 15, which a lot of decks relied heavily on stall cards. Secret Mission is a really tactical card that you didn't see a lot except at tournament play. It lets you look at your opponent's hand, and then it gives you the option to discard however many cards you want from your hand and then draw that many. So again, you're really just milling through your own deck, trying to get those cards you need for that essential setup. Computer search to discard what you do have in your hand to get one card that you really need. A lot of times this is going to be just to get a Scyther or a Zapdos. Most of the time you can get the Jigglies and the Wigglies pretty early on. Chaos Gem, just to mess with your opponent really. But it does play really well with Misty's Wrath. So what it does is whenever a player plays a trainer card that is in a stadium, they have to flip a coin. If it's heads, it's played normally, but if it's tails, it doesn't have an effect. So if you play a trainer and you flip tails, what can happen is your opponent can actually use the effect of that card for themselves. So once this card's in play and you use a Misty's Wrath, a 50-50 chance that you're actually going to be able to use it, but if it does fail, your opponent might not actually want to use it because it's going to be discarding cards from their deck, which could mess up their strategy. However, what's going to happen a lot of times is you will play something like Professor's Oak, and you'll fill up your hand with really effective trainers. You'll play all the ones that you want to use, and then you'll play Chaos Gem last, so that you're not really being affected during your turn, but starting on your opponent's next turn, they will be affected by it, even though you probably have your setup by then. 3 double colorless energy, because the 15/3 rule also applies to special energy cards, so a playset will be 3 cards for those as well. So the double colorless really help out with Chansey, but they're mainly in there for Wigglytuff. And then you can fully utilize full heal energy and potion energy because most of this deck is running off of colorless. So if you ever get in a pinch with your Wigglytuff, if it gets a special condition or something on it, you can just slap down one of these special energy cards and heal some damage off of it, or heal the special condition off of it if you can't swap it to your bench at that moment. And then the rest of the deck will be filled out with lightning energy. And this will come into play really well when your opponent's running something like Haymaker. Wigglytuff doesn't really like going up against Hitmonchan or Rocket's Hitmonchan, so in those cases you can just swap out to Zapdos. It has the resistance to fighting, and it can also one-hit a Hitmonchan with dealing some damage to itself, but as long as you're getting knockouts faster than your opponent, that is the point of this deck. Even with some high cost from the trainers and the attacks on the cards themselves, your main goal is really just to KO your opponent, even if it puts some damage on yourself. As long as you're getting prize cards faster than they are, that's all you really need to worry about with this build. So you're really combining strategies from all of these huge archetypes, but mainly your strategy is going to be to have a Jigglypuff as your starter, get a double colorless on it, and then turn 2 evolve into Wigglytuff. Use a bunch of trainers to fill up your bench, slap down a third energy of your choice, and then just start wrecking shop. With backup support from things like Scyther, Electabuzz, and Rocket Zapdos to help with certain situations. I honestly don't have much to add about this deck. The only alternative cards I would really consider using are maybe Super Potion, just to heal off damage from Rocket Zapdos and keep those Wigglytuffs alive. However, this does slow down the deck a little bit, and it takes up a trainer spot in a format where trainers are limited. Also, maybe consider Item Finder over Chaos Gem. But Chaos Gem has pretty good synergy with Misty's Wrath. Misty's Wrath is going to help you get cards in your hand super quick. Actually, I found Misty's Wrath preferable over Computer Search for actually getting what I need. And if you play Misty's Wrath with Chaos Gem out and you get a Tails, it's actually pretty iffy if your opponent's going to take advantage of using that effect for their own, because they don't want to discard that many cards from their deck just to get a couple out. And unlike the original Haymaker or Wigglytuff builds, this doesn't run any plus power. It doesn't really need it. Most other decks are running a lot slower because of the limited trainers, so even if you're not getting one-hit KOs every single turn, even though it's extremely possible that you can, it's not going to hurt this deck to have to spend a couple of extra turns racking up damage. And this type of deck is what really made players want to quit playing, because Prop 15 was meant to keep decks like this out, but what ended up happening is this deck just got stronger and it just kept winning tournaments. There was not much you could do unless you just ran a carbon copy of this deck or something similar. The main thing that can combat this deck is Clefable, but Clefable is also easy to work around with this deck. It's mainly there to copy the Rocket Zapdos attacks and do the wave at different points in the game, but just a couple of shots from Wigglytuff will take it out anyway. So there you have it. Just let me hear your thoughts and comments down in the comments section where they belong. And until next time, guys, see you later.